Shams Charania reporting that Jimmy Butler is on his way to the Golden State Warriors.
This deal materialized in the shadows. Maybe the most stunning trade, definitely that I've been a part of in recent NBA history.
One tweet. That's all it takes to shift narratives, destroy reputations, and even cost NBA players millions. One tweet, and James Harden suddenly has a personal matter. But was it really personal, or was Shams just covering for his source? One tweet, and an NBA player finds out he's been traded before his own team even calls him. One tweet, and the entire sports betting market flips, making certain people a lot of money. Was it a legitimate leak, or was it a setup? Shams Charania isn't just reporting NBA news, he's controlling it, and that is a huge problem. This is the story of how one man became more powerful than entire NBA teams, and why it's ruining the game we love. Because once you see how deep this goes, you'll never look at NBA news the same way again. Shams Charania wasn't supposed to be here. He wasn't a former player. He didn't have deep family connections in the NBA. He was just a kid from Chicago who became obsessed with breaking basketball news. But that obsession turned him into something the league had never seen before, a reporter so powerful that even NBA executives fear him. At 17 years old, Shams was told he was too young to cover the NBA. That didn't stop him. When the Chicago Bulls wouldn't give him media credentials, while other reporters chased big headlines, Shams played the long game. He started small, reporting on 10-day contracts and G League deals that nobody cared about. But that was the secret. He knew that every agent, every coach, and every front office executive had to start somewhere. By covering their smaller moves, he earned their trust. And then one day, it paid off. Even Woj himself, the king of NBA scoops, tweeted, "Big-time story break by the best young reporter in the business, Shams Charania." That tweet has since been deleted, and maybe that's because Woj saw what was coming. Shams wasn't just some kid getting lucky with a few stories. He was a machine. He didn't take days off. He barely slept. He bombarded agents, executives, and players with texts, calls, and emails, grinding until he got the next scoop. Soon, he wasn't just a young reporter, he was a threat. By 2016, Woj had seen enough. He convinced Yahoo to hire Shams, bringing him under his wing, introducing him to the biggest names in the league, and grooming him to be his successor. But here's where things took a turn. Just 1 year later, Woj left for ESPN, expecting Shams to follow. But in that 1 year without his mentor, something changed. Shams realized he didn't need Woj anymore. He wasn't just Woj's apprentice, he was his rival. And in the battle for NBA news, there's only room for one king. But that rivalry wasn't just about who could break the most news, it was about control. And as Shams rose to power, he didn't just change the way NBA news was reported, he changed the way the entire league operated. And that's when the real problems started. And at first, Shams Charania was just another hungry reporter trying to make a name for himself. A kid from Chicago obsessed with basketball, willing to do anything to get his foot in the door. But now, he is not just breaking NBA news, he is shaping it. Because in today's NBA, information is power. The person who controls the news cycle controls the narrative. And right now, no one has more control than Shams. Every trade, every contract signing, every injury update, if it does not come from Shams or Woj, does it even count? That is the level of influence he has reached. Shams is not just reporting the news, he is deciding what gets reported, and more importantly, how it gets reported. Look at the way he handles player controversies. If a superstar is unhappy and wants out, Shams will word it in a way that makes them look reasonable. If a front office is about to make a controversial move, he will soften the blow by breaking the story in a way that favors the team. Take Kyrie Irving, for example. When he was suspended for refusing to apologize over a controversy, fans were searching for real details. Instead, Shams's tweets sounded like they came straight from Kyrie's agent. Carefully worded, always neutral, never fully critical, because that is the game Shams plays. He protects his sources, and in return, they keep feeding him exclusive information. And the NBA media landscape has adjusted to this. Executives, agents, and even players understand that if they want to control the public perception, they need Shams on their side. This is why front offices secretly leak information to him. This is why agents feed him stories before they even tell their own clients. And that has real consequences. General managers have admitted to making roster moves based on how the media will react. That is how powerful Shams has become. He is no longer just reporting the game, he is influencing it. But that is just the start, because when a journalist becomes this powerful, the next step is even more dangerous. And as we are about to see, Shams is not just controlling headlines, he is actively changing the way NBA teams operate. But the fact that the question even exists shows how deep the problem runs. NBA news isn't just about journalism anymore, it's about money, control, and manipulation. Shams has become more than a reporter. He's a kingmaker. Teams rely on him to push narratives. Players fear what he might say about them. Even executives lean on him for trade advice. The NBA is no longer just a game, it's a media battlefield, and Shams is one of the most powerful players in it. But the question remains, is he making the league better or just making himself more powerful? At first, the rivalry between Woj and Shams seemed like a good thing for fans. Two of the most relentless reporters in sports battling to break news first. But what most people didn't realize was that this wasn't just a competition to report news, it was a war for power. Because in today's NBA, breaking news isn't just about informing fans, it's about influence, it's about money, and most importantly, it's about controlling the narrative. Think about this. When a player demands a trade, who tells that story first? If it's Woj, the report might frame the team as blindsided and the player as selfish. If it's Shams, the wording might shift. Maybe the player was frustrated with the organization's direction or felt unappreciated. Same story, completely different message. And once that message is out, it sticks. Front offices know this. Agents know this. And that's why NBA teams, executives, and even players themselves fight for favor with Woj and Shams. Because if you don't have them on your side, they can make you look bad in a way that no PR team can fix. We've seen it happen before. Jimmy Butler gets labeled as a locker room problem. Kyrie Irving is painted as unpredictable. James Harden's latest disappearance is brushed off as a personal matter. Where is this information coming from? It's coming straight from Shams and Woj, and it's coming with a spin, one that benefits their sources. NBA general managers have admitted that they will leak information to Shams just to stay in his good graces. Some front offices have even gone as far as investigating their own employees to see who is feeding information to reporters. That's how much influence these guys have. And then there's the money. Betting markets shift based on their tweets. Millions of dollars can move in an instant when Shams reports that a star player is sitting out or that a blockbuster trade is in the works. There are companies, investors, and even gambling syndicates that track Shams' every tweet to gain an edge. So the question is, who's really benefiting from these scoops? Shams has built his career by getting close to agents, executives, and players, which means he is constantly walking a fine line between journalist and mouthpiece. If you are one of Shams' sources, you get the benefit of having your side of the story told first, and told in a way that makes you look good. If you are not, well, you better hope he does not paint you as the villain, and that has real consequences. Look at what happened to Kai Jones. The young Hornets player started acting erratic on social media, calling out teammates and posting bizarre videos. Then, just like that, he was cut from the team. But instead of digging into what was really happening, whether it was mental health struggles, locker room issues, or something deeper, Shams barely covered it. Why? Because there was no incentive to report the full story. There was no agent, no executive, no superstar feeding him inside information. So the story disappeared. This is the problem. NBA news is no longer about truth, it is about relationships. And when a reporter's loyalty is to his sources instead of the fans, we do not get the full picture. We get a version of events carefully crafted by the people with the most power. And the worst part? The NBA enables it. Teams are so desperate to control the media cycle that they will leak information, sabotage reputations, and even let reporters dictate decisions just to stay on their good side. There are stories of general managers calling Shams and Woj for advice on trades, signings, and even coaching hires. That is how powerful they have become. Shams Charania isn't just the biggest newsbreaker in basketball, he's one of the most powerful figures in the entire NBA. His tweets shape narratives, dictate trade markets, and even move betting lines. He's no longer just a journalist, he's an institution. But should he be? At what point does reporting cross the line into manipulation? Shams' connections with teams, agents, and sportsbooks blur the line between breaking news and influencing outcomes. If a single tweet can shift a player's reputation, impact a trade negotiation, or even alter millions of dollars in bets, how much of what we see is real, and how much is just leverage? The NBA has tried to limit leaks, but Shams and Woj are too embedded in the system to stop. They're not just covering the league, they're controlling it. The NBA needs to take back control of its own stories. Players shouldn't be learning about trades on Twitter. Teams shouldn't have to play the media game just to get fair treatment. And when gambling is involved, shouldn't there be some kind of regulation? Because right now, Shams doesn't just report what happens in the NBA, he helps decide it. So is Shams good for the game or just good for himself? Let me know in the comments. Do you think NBA insiders like Shams are ruining the league, or are they just doing their jobs at the highest level? Should the NBA step in and regulate how news is broken, or is this just the reality of modern sports media? If you enjoyed this deep dive, check out my other video on insert-related NBA controversy, where I break down another insane story that changed the game. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.